Dramatic effect, drum roll.
Well, we're here, finally. This is the Genealogy Podcast. My name is Taurus Omejia. I am your host, and I'm joined by my co-host, the wonderful, the beautiful, the lovely Rhoda Omejia, my lovely wife. Hey, babe.
Hey.
Welcome to my house.
Welcome to my house.
No, my house.
Yes, it is my house. Anyway.
Anyways, well, so, this is episode 1 of the Genealogy Podcast. We're happy that you're here, happy that you join us. This is the first episode of many episodes. And, Rhoda has been wanting to do this podcast for quite some time now. And I've been resisting.
It's been on my heart. And I thought we will have a great conversation. And every now and then invite a guest or so.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to a good season.
Absolutely. So the impetus of this is that, Rhoda wanted to do something along the lines of family, relationships, just where we can have, discussions, and just talk about things, give some opinions, bring maybe some experts, just to discuss various topics. I've been resisting it because, we're crazy busy. We got a lot going on, doing the various things that we do to put food on the table, to pay the bills, involved in many different community service operations.
Yeah.
And so, time is a premium.
We are very busy.
Yeah. So because of that, we've been kind of putting it off. But, we said, you know what? The baby's asleep. It's night. This is past midnight.
Right.
We got some energy. We wasn't doing nothing.
Usually we're watching our favorite TV show or being silly.
This is why we're busy. Because, when we should be doing real work, we're like awake, doing nothing.
Yeah, sometimes
we do get stuff done.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is it, episode 1. What do you think?
I'm excited. I'm elated, elated for us to do this. It's been long coming, so let's just jump into it. And
before we jump into it, what are you drinking?
I am drinking some green tea, actually. I made sure it wasn't peppermint because we have a special kind of relationship. But what are you drinking?
You got to be careful there. I think our audience heard you slurping on the mic. She was like, y'all heard that, right? So anyways, I'm drinking. This is an interesting thing. I'm drinking coffee, all right? But this is not just any coffee. All right. This is called.
What makes it different?
All right, it's called Commentier. It's new. It's a new company, a startup, and they're doing something pretty interesting. When you order the coffee, they mail you the coffee and it's frozen. You take the cup and you put it over you put some warm water over it. You let it run for about 5 seconds, and the puck gets loose in the Keurig cup, and you just dump it in your glass.
Your water.
Hot water. You dump it in there. You pour hot water on it. Voila, you got coffee, instant coffee. And it is delicious.
Well, that's a free commercial for them. And
holla at your boy. You got some free advertisement here.
We're giving you some advertisement because he is smitten by this coffee.
I love it. Call me commentator. All right. Well, we need to get into this. We've been dilly-dallying, wasting time.
Yes. Let's get started.
Yeah. So this is episode 1 of the Genealogy Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about something more on the financial side of a marital relationship, right?
Right.
We're talking about this whole idea of how married couples handle their
finances,
specifically their accounts. Mm-hmm. How does that look like? How is the account situation structured? Do we have joint accounts? Do we have separate accounts? Do we have secret accounts? Do we have illicit accounts? We just want to talk about that.
Right, right.
You
It's
know.
it's an interesting topic. It's very, very important because when you talk about some of the main reasons couples or have disagreement or end up even in divorce, finances are a big part to play. It
Yeah.
plays a huge role. It causes a lot of discord. It causes a lot of, just so many things, emotions to arise when it comes to discussing about finances and just managing your finances. So, we are going to get started. Our beginning question today is it ideal to have a joint bank account as a couple? And if so, why? So, we're just going to jump right into it and I'll let you lead here, just to share light on this particular question. I think we should begin with talking about some of the reasons, right? Some of the reasons and the benefit of having joint account.
Yeah.
What do you really, as a couple or as a spouse, what do you really gain from having joint account?
Yeah, I think first let's just let's level set, right?
Okay.
Because we have joint accounts, so we have various different ways that people are doing this,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So let's just create that backdrop real quick.
Okay.
So the first way that generally maybe the most common way, maybe not the most common way, is that we have this whole idea of a shared account or a joint account, right? Meaning that both spouses, both partners, have access to this one account
Right.
that we do everything out of,
Right,
right?
right.
That's we'll call it the joint account or the shared account model,
Right, right.
So I think the exact opposite of that, the second way people are doing this, is the separate account model,
Right.
right? Which is the opposite of the joint account model, meaning each person has their own separate account. And maybe we split the bills, or maybe I don't know, however that's handled. That's how that's handled, the separate account model.
Right.
And then finally, I think some people take a hybrid approach. Perhaps they have a shared account that both people have visibility into, but then each person has their own separate account, whether you call it a spending account, or maybe they get paid in their separate account and they deposit money, transfer money into the shared account
That's
for bills.
those are very, I like the word hybrid because now there's different dynamics, different situations happening, right? That you're, like you mentioned, they get paid separate accounts and then they have a joint account they're depositing into, but both spouse still hold on to the separate accounts.
Right, right. And maybe the hybrid model is the opposite of what I said, right? Maybe they get paid in the shared account, but then they
The finances
divine
are
the
splitted.
yeah, they split it, whether that's personal spending, whether each person has their own things they're responsible for, whatever that looks like. And obviously, with this hybrid approach, there's various variations. So, we want you guys to let us know. Maybe you guys are doing it a certain way that we haven't quite nailed down yet. Please
Yeah.
leave a comment and let us know. We're super interested to know how some of the ways that people are doing.
Okay.
So I mean, there's various ways that the hybrid model can work. I'm sure we haven't even touched on. I'm sure that people are doing some interesting stuff that I can't even imagine.
We can't even imagine
So
there.
I would like you guys to paint that picture. Anybody who's doing something a little bit more interesting, I would like you to paint a picture. So I think now the question is, why do people do it differently, right? We have the way we do it.
Right.
Others do it differently. We know a lot of friends, family that do it differently than we do it.
Right.
So shouldn't this be like a rule? Like if you're married, you should do it like a certain way. Like I don't understand why. What do you think? What do you think about that?
I don't think there should be a rule. And even if there is a rule, of course, we always are made to rebel. Like we have a natural tendency to go against whatever that norm or rule is. Like
That's why I haven't
that's
taken
just
a shower in a week, because you keep telling me to take a shower.
okay. Anyways, so that's one of those things that you can't really put someone in a box, because what I've seen is our unique upbringing, like how we were brought up from our family of origin, what we saw happen, how people related with these kind of matters or handle these situations in their own unique way, it leads us to kind of, because for instance, right, you and I, while we were dating, I noticed that we had this plan. We started saving money. I had some situations with my prior bank accounts, so we knew we're gonna be together. We knew we're gonna get married. So you were very open to us just having a bank account joint, and this has been there wasn't any question about it, right? We both just agreed. It was just like there's not we didn't I don't think we even had any other view of how this will happen. It's almost as if it was automatic, right? And with people who were raised in a home where at a young age their parents got a divorce, or the parents were separated, or for whatever reasons, there's so many different dynamic situations that sculpt the way we have come to become a married people today, and how we manage finances specifically, right? People who have also been in different relationships before they got married, that also has a role to play, because if they had a spouse that was misspending their money, or a spouse that was doing so many different things, it do have a part to play. So I think that's where all the variation derives, right?
All right. So we understand the various scenarios. We have three different scenarios, potentially three scenarios that people are doing: joint account, separate account,
Right.
hybrid approach.
Right.
Right. So obviously there's history. There's a lot of good reasons why people fall into any of those categories. Right.
Right. Right.
And maybe some not so good reasons. Maybe some historical pains. Maybe some bad experience with previous partners.
Yeah.
So some baggage, right? Could just be that this is just how they came into the marriage with a separate account, and they just never thought about it,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it could be maybe there's not even an issue. It's just I have my account, you have your account, and we just figure it out. And
Yeah.
we move along, and maybe it works.
Yeah, and I've talked to couples who they have that separate account situation, and each person is assigned a particular bill to pay. So maybe the wife takes care of all the utility bills, and then the husband just take care of the rent, or the husband takes care of everything, and the wife, her finances, a portion of it goes into savings.
Wait, the husband takes care of everything, and the wife works, but it goes into savings.
Part of her funds go into
What's
savings,
the other part?
and then the other part she spends
That's
it
right.
however
What?
she wants to. I
Some of
mean,
y'all getting ripped off.
no, no, they're not getting ripped off. They're taking care of their
I don't like
spouse.
it.
You don't? Well, elaborate. Let's hear your
I
thoughts.
prefer my woman to take care of me.
Oh no, that's not how it works, and that's not how it's working here. So what are you talking about? That's not what's happening. Am I taking care of you
Of course, you're taking care of me.
financially?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. I'll take that compliment. You're welcome. So let's continue. Yeah. So in that particular situation, we can't say it's wrong or it's right. Right? It's just we're pretty much saying it's okay to do what works for your family, right? It's okay to do what works for your unique situation, and
Right.
not to make it an issue when it's not an issue.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Now, we have the way we do it,
Right.
right? And the way we do it is we have the joint account model. It's how we've always done it. We do believe that's a better model.
Right.
Personally, it works for us,
Right.
and we encourage others to consider
Right.
the joint account model for various reasons.
Right. And some of those reasons are reasons that have benefited us.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So so we'll go through some of the reasons why we think it's better, right? And then we can kind of go from there. So number one, it's gives visibility,
Right.
right?
Right.
Having a joint account, we all know what's happening. We're on the same page. We both
Right.
have custody
Right.
of the account. We can budget around the account, plan around it.
Right.
Both any income goes in here, and then out of that account, we do whatever we do, whether we're paying bills, whether we're sending money into savings, investing, et cetera, right?
Right,
So
right.
visibility is kind of key. Right?
Visibility is huge. It's huge. And visibility breeds trust.
Absolutely.
It breeds trust. It allows both partners to be able to be in the loop of what's happening. I think about a situation or a analogy of just walking into a room and you're blindfolded, right? Like you are navigating your passage in this room, but you can't see, right? For your finances as a couple, you're in this marriage together, the marriage being the room, and you're in this union together, and this part of your visibility is cut off.
Right.
It's just difficult to navigate, and to be able to trust your partner, to be able to say, we're doing this together.
Yeah.
It's just really, it breeds awareness. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm aware of what's happening with our money. You're aware. We're both on the same page, and that's just that transparency, that visibility. That's one of the. I think it's very important.
It's important.
It's a big point.
And I think the next logical thing that it does is it helps with accountability. So visibility, we know what's happening, we're aware, we're on the same page. And now accountability is a little bit different because I think that's where protection comes into play. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there are certain things you're not going to do
Right.
because somebody's going to come after you.
Oh yeah, all the time, y'all, all the time. We got some good cop, bad cops here.
And it goes both ways.
It goes both
Because,
ways.
I want to buy that new camera, and hey, if you wasn't looking, I would already have that camera. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, but because you're looking, now I got to come. We got to talk about it.
Right.
We got to plan. We got to make sure, we ain't got nothing better to do with the money,
Right.
before we get that camera.
Yeah, I mean, we've accountability have been beneficial in our journey because we said if you go to the store and for some of us who struggle with window shopping,
Right.
and you walk into the store and your price point is a certain amount, and that particular item have not been budgeted for the month, but it's also not an amount that is we have like a little wiggle room to work with.
Right.
So then there's a phone call that needs to be made.
Right.
And we have to sort of talk about what is this item we're trying to get, why, and can we afford it today?
Right.
Is it going to put us in a bind
Right.
with our wiggle room cash, right?
Right.
For the month, based on where we are too in the month.
And you know what I've noticed? That conversation, that phone call, a lot of times helps you not do the impulse purchase.
No,
It stops you from buying crap that you don't need.
you don't need.
We're all good at that. We walk in a store, we see something shiny, we're like, oh my gosh, more stuff.
Especially if it's something you've been wanting, you've been thinking about it, and then it's on sale.
Right.
Like, this is a good deal.
Right. But you got to make that call.
Right, right.
Like,
That call kind of,
hey, babe, I'm at Target. There's this new shiny thing that I want. It's so nice and it's 50% off. Do we need it?
right.
No.
No. Yeah, so accountability is huge. And another valid benefit I see is growth and sort of mentorship, right? Growth, in the sense of I will let you talk about that real quick. What when you talk about benefits, the benefit being growth, the benefit mean being growth or mentorship. What does that look like?
What does that look like? Okay, let me add something else first before I talk about growth because I think in the proper context it'll make more sense.
Okay.
I think so. We set visibility.
Right.
We set accountability.
Right.
I think another one is protection. Right?
Protection.
Because visibility is we see what's happening, we're on the same page.
Right.
Accountability is now because we're accountable to each other, we're more responsible, we respect each other and trying to talk to each other and figure out, what's okay and what, and making sure we're staying within budget, right? But protection now is well, what happens if a spouse has a gambling problem, right? What happens if a spouse has an unhealthy
Spending.
spending habit or
Habit.
spending problem, right?
Right.
What if a spouse has a gambling issue, right? So that you sharing this account offers protection because if that spouse goes on this shopping spree or this spending spree, you're gonna know.
Right.
And now you're able to help. You're able to offer assistance.
Definitely.
You're able to provide counsel.
Yeah.
You're able to help the spouse seek professional help if the situation demands it. Right.
Right.
So that's very important. Right.
Right.
And then finally, you talked about growth. Right.
Right.
Is that what you said? Growth.
Yes.
So I think from the growth and mentorship standpoint is if I have a partner or you have a partner who lacks a certain financial acumen. They're not great at budgeting. They're not great at planning. They're not great just with the money things, all the things, right? If you're better at it, you're able to see their weaknesses and help them gain those inches that they need so that they can kind of level up and come where you are.
Without trying to bully them and make them feel bad for
Right.
for their weakness, because we all have weaknesses, right? And that might be their weaknesses, and again it comes back from your family of origin and just how you were brought up, because some of us have a strong financial upbringing or backbone from our family, and we saw how money was managed around the house, how responsible our parents were.
Yeah.
And some of those things are just cycles. It's just patterns that have been learned or unlearned or not even learned, but it just sort of triggers down.
Yeah.
So with that, in the dating process, it's very important to have these discussions to be able to say, hey, you know what, this is how I manage finances. This is how, this is what saving looked like for me. This is what, life looks like for me. This is how managing my finances. This is what I saw. This is what I know.
Yeah.
And this is what I think.
Absolutely.
So once you're in that, situation, now you're able to say, hey, let me lend you a hand and pull you up by mentoring you, because I have a better understanding, I have a better knowledge, and I am more experienced in this particular area. Right. But it also happens in a situation where sometimes the spouse will say, you know what, let me handle the account. You just stay in another account, and we'll just give you a few dollars to spend.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily like that because you're not helping the person. We're not growing, right? This is kind of like we know there's a problem. I know there's a problem. You know there's a problem.
Right.
And so we just say, let's buffer. Let's create a buffer and be comfortable with the problem.
Yeah.
As opposed to let's address the problem so that we can both play.
Right.
In this shared space that we
Right.
should both be accountable and responsible for. Right?
What if the person is in denial and they don't see that there is a problem and they're not even willing to be mentored or to attain that growth?
Yeah. So I think that, there's room for nuance, right? And this is where I think at the beginning we talked about that there's not a one size fit all, right? So we have to be flexible and give space for growth, give space to work out certain issues. So I think that's like a good time to think about, okay, well, maybe while we're working through this, because the family must go on, we have to pay bills, we have to make sure things are done properly. Sometimes it might be appropriate to be split off, right? Sometimes it might be appropriate to have somebody have the little play money until we can grow. But there needs to be communication. There needs to be understanding.
Transparency.
There needs to be transparency. There needs to be agreement.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can't just make up your mind and say, okay, well, based on my arbitrary rules and my arbitrary point of view, you're terrible at this, so we locking you out.
Yeah, like your own timeout, like a little kid.
I'll control the money. Here's $50.
You can go buy a little gum and candy.
Take what I give you. Be grateful. You got 50.
I love what you shared earlier about the mentorship part and then being on the account. And another point that came to mind was while that person is being mentored, you both can take it as an opportunity to get financial literacy, right? To get expert involved.
Yeah.
That can come, and it's also a sort of like a coaching for both people, because we don't know it all, right?
Absolutely.
Even if this is your area of strength, you do have some opportunity also for growth.
Absolutely.
You can still learn. So then it will be a collective thing, like you mentioned, they feel included and not pushed to the side. Oh yeah, you're in timeout. And just stay here and I'll handle things. So I think, like you said, it's a communication and just respecting each other through the process, right? Because you're a team.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's good.
So that's just what it is. That's our ideal, right? This is Rhoda and Taurus. This is how we do it.
Right.
For us, ideally, the ideal is that you have a joint account.
Right.
There's cooperation.
Right.
There's planning. There's visibility. With room for nuances.
Right. Right.
But that's how we do it. That's how we encourage and recommend most people do it.
And it has helped us. It has helped us.
Absolutely.
Like we mentioned accountability, we mentioned visibility, we also mentioned growth and mentorship. Another thing that have been beneficial to us has been, it has almost been like therapeutic in a way, or a therapy for us, where budgeting, we're able to watch videos together, get education together, plan, look for apps together, figure out managing the income.
Yep.
Like we talked about the accountability aspect of checking in with each other. There's so many things that have strengthened our marriage from just having joint account together, because now you're put in a place where you have to be open with each other, right?
Yeah.
And the scripture talks about when a husband and wife come together, you're becoming one. Financially, it helps becoming one impact other aspect of our lives.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I think we've said it. We've said all we've really thought about, plan on saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else you got?
Yeah, I mean, another thing I had here was we had budgeting, planning, and forecasting. Well, I did mention the unity part, togetherness, and team building, purpose, and have making sure that we know what our purpose is
Yeah.
in spending. So for a season of our lives, we couldn't travel. We had a mission. We had a purpose. We were intentional to say, this is where we are financially.
Right.
This is what we can afford,
Right.
and this is what we can do. Yes, we want to have fun. Yes, we want to travel. Yes, we want to have certain clothes or shoes or whatever.
Hey, we still not traveling. We grinding too much right
We,
now. Just
we
on the grind.
But all in all, in the end, what I've learned is sometimes you explain your situation to people and say, this is what we're doing. We're happy here, blah blah blah, and you get that perspective from other people, like, oh, you're not gonna live a little bit, you're not gonna have fun a little bit. But at the end of the day, just knowing that we both have this and we are on working together. God forbid if we something happened to one of us as
Right.
we are grinding,
Right.
it's still worth it,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Doing it
Like,
together.
yeah, yeah. So I'm at the end of the day, I don't think there will be any regrets here to say, hey, we didn't travel. Yeah, we didn't travel, but we kind of traveled here.
Right.
We
Right.
traveled financially. We grew, we learned.
Yeah.
And it's just the mindset of those things that seem to be status quo fun, right? Of enjoyment, enjoying life together.
Right.
However, this is fun.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fun when you set a target, you set a goal,
Yeah.
and you are in lockstep, and then you gain inches toward that goal, and you finally hit the target.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great you feel accomplished, you feel fulfilled, and so that's all good.
So we've touched on bank accounts, right?
Yep.
We've discussed some of the benefits and just the different kind of bank accounts or different scenario that govern the accounts, right? Now let's talk about other accounts, right?
Yep.
Because when you talk about the bank account, you're talking about the primary checking, savings account.
Yep.
So go ahead and just like touch on other accounts for a
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what are we doing when it comes to retirement accounts,
Right,
right? Crypto accounts,
right,
401ks, not retirement, insurance. Right. So we have various other accounts that we have in our lives. Like, do we have visibility? Does our partner have visibility? Do we have like a 401k account or an investment account or a crypto account somewhere that our spouse doesn't know about?
right,
Do we have a life insurance policy that the spouse doesn't know about? Like, who's all on these life insurance policy?
right,
Does your spouse know? Are they in agreement?
right,
Have we discussed these things? So I think these are all important topics. So as we're thinking about this whole thing with joint account, sharing account, visibility, accountability, like that plays into the conversation too, right? Because
Right.
I know people out there that they have all these other investment accounts that they're just doing their own thing. There's no visibility, So these are things that that's important because
very,
yeah, there's a lot of issues that can come about if these things aren't talked about.
Right.
For example, nobody's going to live forever. We're all going to die someday. If you have all these accounts, even if you didn't mean anything nefarious by it,
Right.
even if it's like not anything secret, you just are used to being independent, doing your own thing, not necessarily having to answer to anybody or keep
Right.
somebody up to date. Well, what if there's a sudden case of death? Nobody's expecting, but it happens.
Right.
You died today. You have $30,000 in various accounts somewhere. Your spouse doesn't know. How's that money going to help anybody?
It's not. It's just not. It's just become, and it comes down to just trust. If we trust each other, which is one of those foundational values, right, in a relationship, then it will play a huge role on us making these decisions, right? And if you find that this is an area you struggle in, then you need to work on it because now it's causing, you in the case of a sudden death, your spouse don't know that's money that's just somewhere, but they're losing it because of there wasn't transparency.
Right.
So yeah, it's very important to have you know for visibility on
Yeah.
both part with
Especially when you're
everything
especially when you're dealing with like something like
crypto.
where it's not traditional. A lot of different financial accounts. A lot of times you might name not always, but you name a beneficiary. But something like crypto, you have some. You know, you made some crypto investment a few years ago. You have it in some crypto wallet. That investment may be worth now tens of thousands of dollars. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Nobody even knows how to access it, where it's at.
Yeah.
It's going to sit there for eternity,
Right.
you know?
Right. I
So,
mean, what do you think about a situation where the spouse is not really financially, you know, literate, right? In the sense of all the retirement account. Maybe they're able to handle or understand like the primary accounts. But when it comes to retirement accounts and investing, they're not very privy or it's not their strongest suit.
yeah,
So they allow the spouse that's their strength to handle it,
yeah. Yeah,
right?
and that's a scenario that's common, right?
Right,
But I still think that even if that spouse is not literate, meaning they're not active in managing the account, right?
right,
But they should be aware. They should know the phone numbers to call in the event that they need to get information. They
right.
need to get access. They should know how to go about accessing,
Accessing.
getting their hands around. They should know who to call. There should be some kind of a plan that in the unlikely event of your untimely demise, they know how to get their hands around things.
Yeah,
There's some kind of a written plan. There's an agreement, maybe a trust. Maybe there's some financial person that you guys have hired who can help through that kind of stuff, right? So I mean, a spouse doesn't necessarily have to be savvy, right, to be aware.
right. Awareness is huge. It's very important, and I think we take that for granted because there is this unspoken thought that we will live forever, right? There's this thing in the back of our mind that makes us to feel like, you know what? I got married to this person, we're going to live forever. But we have situations where couples get married and maybe are married for months or a year, if not less, right? And tragic situations happen,
Absolutely.
right? So I love when you mentioned about transparency with the 401k because how much percentage of your income is coming into the joint account,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And if your company matches and you've already capped how much they can match, are you gonna turn that off? So that's money coming into your pocket, right? And also just a situation of talking about how much taxes is coming out. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah.
I know we discussed that and we did that for ourselves. Maybe that can help someone financially right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. So, that's something to think about. Some people put a premium on getting a big income tax refund at the beginning of the next year.
Right.
Right. Our model and the way we do it, we think is better is to pay only what you need to pay.
Right.
Pay exactly what you figure out what you need to pay, how much you're going to owe in taxes, and just pay that.
And Lord, that percentage.
Yeah. Any dollar over what you actually need to pay, you're just giving the government a loan, and they're not even paying you interest, right?
Right.
So let's say, just for the sake of easy numbers, I'll just give some really nice round numbers for easy math, right?
Right.
Let's say you bring $50,000 a year, and on this $50,000, you're supposed to pay $5,000 in taxes, right? For the entire year. Just we're doing round numbers.
Right.
So once you've paid that $5,000, let's say they're taking out however much a month from you, maybe $250 or whatever it is, right? Once you've paid your $5,000, every dollar over that you pay, you're gonna get that back as a refund.
Right.
So when the government gives you that refund in the next year, you're thinking, "Woo, free money from the government." No, son.
No, it's not.
They just giving you your money back.
Yeah.
You loaned it to them, and you got nothing out of it.
Right. No interest. Your money didn't grow.
Exactly. You would have been better off putting that money in a savings account,
Right.
which is worthless these days because you're barely doing anything. But that's better than giving it to the government free of charge.
Right.
Even better than that, open another IRA. Throw it in an IRA.
Right.
Even better, throw it in an investment account.
Right.
Throw it in an ETF that'll get you at least 12% return a year on average.
Right.
So these are all better ways. Put it into a business. Donate it.
Right.
These are all better ways than you just giving Uncle Sam an interest-free loan.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wanted you to touch on that because today, as young couples, raising family, we have higher financial burden, right? And the bills, daycare, all the different demands, right?
Yeah.
And we just need to pay what we need to pay on taxes.
Right.
And that's it.
Right.
And when you do file your taxes, we still get money back, even if you pay exactly what you need to pay. So anything else over that, it's just not even necessary to be putting that into the government hands. I feel like you have a thought to add.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, some people do that as a means of a sort of savings, like a forced savings, right?
Right.
Because sometimes maybe we haven't built the discipline to
True.
willfully and forcefully set money aside, right? And money comes in, we spend it all, right? So if you're overpaying the government, at least once a year, you're going to have a lump sum of money that you can use for a big purchase, maybe a vehicle, maybe a business, maybe something like that, right?
Yeah.
So some people are there, right? So what I would say is if you're that person who's there, I would encourage that you really work at the ideal. The ideal is build that discipline to be able to put money aside, right?
Right.
Start with a small percentage and work your way up. Because, one thing I've learned is that we humans we adapt. We adapt like no other. If you're making $50,000 a year,
Right.
and something happens where that thing gets cut to 40, you're gonna make it on the 40.
You are, and your kids are. Everyone is gonna have to adjust.
You're gonna survive.
Yeah.
So, and guess what? If you're making $50,000 a year and you get a raise, now you're making $70,000 a year. You're gonna spend that 70.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's almost like you never lived on less than 70.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because
And
now
until you're forced to cut back, you're just gonna live on the 70.
Yeah.
So let's take that same ability to adapt, whether up or down, and just force yourself. Say, okay, well, if I'm getting X amount, let's start at 5%. If you have to start at 5%, maybe do that for 3 months, right? And 5% of everything that comes in, you just throw it away in some account somewhere. Throw it in some investment account or something like that, and then work your way up to 10%, and then keep doing that until you get to a place that makes sense for you, makes sense for your family, where you're saving a substantial amount, where you feel like you're making upward pressure, upward momentum, and keep building that muscle. So absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we've kind of shared on all the main important parts, but what will be our key takeaway today for our audience? What will be, let's just go over the nuggets and kind of do a recap real
Absolutely.
quick before we wrap up. We talked about the different kinds of account in the beginning. So we talked about the shared account, right? What was another one? We talked about joint.
The shared model, the separate model, and
Okay.
the hybrid model.
And the hybrid model, right? And then under the hybrid, we had,
Different variations of the hybrid model.
okay, different scenarios. We also had benefits of having joint account, which was our unique situation, not forcing it on you because we know everybody have a unique situation they're dealing with or a scenario they're dealing with.
Right.
However, this was what was beneficial to us,
Yep.
right? And then we also touch on the other accounts
Yep.
that are not the norm, right?
Yep. Yep.
That is important to have these, but when you do, to have some sort of transparency
Absolutely.
with your spouse. So the conversation today have been focused on, just making sure there is communication, there is transparency, regardless of what your unique dynamic situation is,
Right.
that
Right.
you both are in that situation together,
Yep.
and you are communicating and doing it with respect,
Right.
right?
Right. Right. And no matter what direction I think we go based on that our dynamic, I think one thing that we can say with certainty is that it's a team effort,
It is.
right? Whatever upward momentum, whatever positive forward steps we take, it should help the family, right?
Right.
So a lot of times I hear couples say, "That's my money, that's his money, that's her money,"
Yeah.
right? I don't think that doesn't make sense to me.
No.
Like, you're a married couple, it's our money,
Yeah.
right? Even if you're still trying to work toward that ideal of having everything together, but for whatever reason you have to be separate right now, and you're sure about that,
Right.
it should still be, this is
Our
our money.
money.
Because hey, last time I checked, the two shall become one.
Yeah.
Last time I checked, it was, these are the vows at the altar that you give till death do us part.
Yeah.
All my worldly all my worldly, what is that old saying that they say in the church? All my worldly affairs or things, something like that, right? To thee I pledge. There's some old school saying that I'm too young for that saying.
I don't remember that, but
Yeah, that's what
I
they
do
say.
remember the till death do us part.
Back in the old days. Anyways, so so let's get away from this whole that's his money, that's my money. That's the wrong way. That's the wrong way to
You
look
know
at
what
that.
I loved? I love hearing more of we, because we enforces unity. It enforces that joint. Like you said, his and her, let's get out of it, because when you say we, even if you're self conscious, is still struggling. Repeating that over and over and enforcing that, it's almost like you're rewiring yourself, right? Because whenever we're in that season of singleness, there's an identity that's developed, right? That we bring into the marriage, which is that independence of I and me and me, myself, and I kind of attitude.
Right.
And we bring that into the marriage. But once you walk down the aisle, it's something that you have to kind of reprogram yourself, being intentional
Right.
as a couple to say we. Like, for instance, I just joined a partnership with two other ladies, and before I used to do the business by myself, right? And I always used to say I. So we went to present to a client, and I had to catch myself. So over and over, every time I had to speak, I paused, and I made sure that I reminded myself it's no longer just you,
Yeah.
but it's a we.
Right.
So it's something that have to be
Built up.
built up.
Muscle memory.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Well,
It's a wrap.
I think we're at that point where we said it all.
Yeah.
We said everything we want to say.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know, we need to get to bed. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And yeah, you know. So this was episode 1. It's in the books.
Right.
We hope that you guys heard something that made some sort of sense.
Yeah.
Maybe it's applicable to you. But we want to hear from you guys.
Yeah.
Leave us some comments. Wherever podcasts are available is where we are. And make sure you're interacting with us. Talk to us. Let us know if we forgot something. Maybe you have questions. We're not professionals. We're not experts. We're just talking here. We're just two folks just talking. We just talking. I don't know about you. I'm just talking. You know what I'm saying?